What's good, everybody? It's the Clown with Cab Show. Rest in peace to the GOAT, the General, a.k.a. Bobby Knight. Really a tragic day, especially for the state of Indiana. What Bobby Knight did with IU is nothing but spectacular. I mean, 3 national championships, 29 years at IU, 662 wins in Bloomington. I mean, it's amazing. He built a championship culture. Bobby Knight, when I think of Bobby Knight, I think of one of the greatest coaches of all time, if not the greatest basketball coach of all time. I mean, he's accomplished so much in his career. It's amazing. I mean, he first started off at Army as an assistant coach. Then he was the head coach for Army from 1965 to 1971. Then he went to the Hoosiers in 71 to 2000. It was a great run. I wish IU never would have fired Bob Knight, but it was amazing. I mean, 3-time national champion, 1976, they didn't even lose a game. They're the most recent team to ever do that. And right now, modern day basketball in 2023, I don't see a team going undefeated like that. I mean, 1976, Bob Knight, he did it, dude. He was the general, man. He did not care. And that's the thing. He didn't put up with bull crap. You know, yes, I understand he threw the chair in the game. That was Bob Knight. You know, Bob Knight didn't put up with any attitudes. If players were to, badmouth Bob Knight, he would yell at them in their face and say, go run. You know, if not, you're off the team. You know, he didn't put up with any crap. You know, yes, there are allegations where he did choke a player. You know, yes, he had a temper. But you know what? He won us 3 national championships. You know, without Bob Knight, IU basketball would be trash, really. You know, and the state of Indiana wouldn't be a powerhouse basketball state. So without Bob Knight, dude, he built that. You know, Bob Knight didn't care, man. Yes, I get it, he had a temper. You know, Larry Bird didn't even want to play for him because his temper was so bad. But they called him the general for a reason. He didn't put up with any crap, and that's the thing. He built championship organizations. That's what he did, dude. At IU, it's amazing. I mean, Steve Alford won it in '87, and Steve Alford's an Indiana boy from Newcastle. You know, he had over 30 points in the championship game. In '87, they won. And then '81 with us, Isaiah Thomas, they won. Keith Smart hit the game-winning jumper against Syracuse in '81 to win the national championship. IU won by 1 point. It was amazing, man. I just, you know, it's sad. You know, we don't see that type of thing anymore in modern-day basketball. We don't see coaches, you know, getting their grill. We don't see coaches, choking other players. Obviously, if that were to happen today, if Bob Knight were to coach today, you know, Bob Knight would have a couple lawsuits. You know, he'd have lawsuits, have to go to court, you know, all the other jazz. But at the end of the day, man, Bob Knight did not give a F. You know, if you were to badmouth Bob Knight, he would get up to your face. You know, you would not. I'm telling you, Bob Knight didn't put up with anything, dude. He would fight his players. He would do anything. He would run through a wall. There was allegations one time where Bob Knight and his players showed up to practice one Saturday morning, and there was a bunch of shit in center of the basketball court. You know, a bunch of pile of shit, and he said, this is what you guys are playing like. You know, go run. We're gonna run the whole practice. That's what we're gonna do. And Bob Knight, like I said, he did not care, and that's why he won championships, because his players finally adapted to that, and they bought into that. They said, we're in with Bobby Knight or we're not. You know, we're in with this just overly competitive coach who's super aggressive, who has super anger issues, who does not care. All he cares about is winning, and players bought into that. Guys like Mike Woodson from Indiana. Guys like Steve Alford from Indiana. So many Indiana great players played for Bob Knight, dude. Like, it's amazing. And then Isaiah Thomas, one of the greatest point guards of all time, not just in college basketball, but in NBA. You know, and really, Isaiah Thomas is so nice. You know, and he went to IU, won in '81. Like, dude, Bob Knight, it's amazing, man. It really is. It's obviously sad to see him pass away at the age of 83, but he's 5th all-time most Division I wins in men's basketball. So 5th all time, that's amazing, dude. Like, you know, he went to Texas Tech from '01 to '08. You know, really didn't pan out that great, but, you know, as far as at IU and Bloomington, dude, he created that winning culture. He's the reason IU is irrelevant even today. You know, IU hasn't really done much since 2000. I mean, we could say, oh, yeah, back in 2013, they beat Kentucky. Is that what we're living up to for Indiana standards? Like, come on, dude. Like, we're talking about national championships here. We're not talking about, a good big upset. We beat Kentucky back in 2013, with Calipari. Like, come on, dude. Like, we did not run deep. You know what I'm saying? Like, ever since Bob Knight left IU, ever since they fired him, they just went down the tube. They really did. I mean, Bob Knight, why do I consider him the greatest coach of all time? Not just his time at IU. In 1984, he won a gold medal for the men's Summer Olympics back in 1984. He coached I believe it was Larry Bird. Michael Jordan was on that team. He was young. And even Bobby Knight came out and said, Michael Jordan's the greatest basketball player's ever seen. When you add the competitiveness, the skill, the hustle, the drive that Michael Jordan brought, that's what made him the greatest basketball player. And hearing that from Bob Knight, it's like, holy cow. He's saying Michael Jordan's the greatest basketball player of all time. Maybe he is. Even though I consider LeBron James the GOAT. But, hearing that from Bob Knight, I'm like, holy cow, dude. Like, Bob Knight knows what he's talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he got introduced to the College Basketball Hall of Fame back in 2006. Even Coach K. What's crazy is Bob Knight coached Coach K back in the 60s at Army. And Coach K even came out and said, we lost one of the greatest basketball coaches of all time today. And that's speaking volumes. And Coach K, I believe, has the most Division I men's victories of all time. I think over 1,200 wins, dude, of Coach K. And Coach K won 5 national championships at Duke. And he was coached by Bob Knight. So, Bob Knight, he brought it day in and day out, man. And he had some really crazy quotes. He said, I want them to bury me upside down and my critics can kiss my ass. That's a quote-unquote Bob Knight. Like I said, Bob Knight did not take any shit. He really didn't. I think Bob Knight in modern day today, people would really try to cancel Bob Knight. We live in the social media world now where it's like, oh, Bob Knight says these crazy things. Bob Knight choked a player. Let's fire him. Let's have a lawsuit and all this stuff. But right now, we're seeing sports right now in a way change to where it was back when Bob Knight coached. Nowadays the game's more soft. You can't get away with certain calls anymore. Back when Bob Knight coached, Bob Knight threw chairs. I'm telling you, Bob Knight brought that it factor. And that's why Indiana loved Bob Knight, dude, because he was that guy. He didn't put up with anything, dude. He didn't care if you were the president of the United States or a plumber or a homeless person. He did not care. All he wanted to do was one thing, and that was to win national championships. And he did it, brought 3 to IU. And ever since then, where's IU been at? IU basketball, where are they at today? You know what I'm saying? They're barely getting by the Sweet 16, dude. Like, that's terrible, dude. Like, that's insane, man. Times have changed, man. I know it's been about 20-some years, dude, or 30-some years, but it's crazy, man. I mean, obviously, I wasn't even born, when Bob Knight was winning championships at IU, but at the same time, seeing old footage of Bob Knight, seeing Bob Knight's halftime speech against Purdue, like really screaming at his players, saying, you guys need to step up. I'm tired of losing Purdue. Bob Knight would curse and curse and curse. Obviously, it's not good to curse, but Bob Knight, like I said, did not give a F. Bob Knight didn't put up with any bullcrap. They called him a general for a reason. He was the general. He was the leader. He was the alpha. And everything ran through Bob Knight at IU. And that's why they won, dude. 76 didn't even lose a game, dude. Went undefeated, dude. 81, Isaiah Thomas, they won. Keith Smart hit the game-winning shot. 87, Steve Alford drops over 30. Indiana boy from Newcastle, they win a championship. You know what I'm saying? 84, Bob Knight, men's gold medal. Like, there's so many accomplishments in Bob Knight's career. But I think overall, history, 100%, definitely in the state of Indiana in college basketball, will always remember Bob Knight. It'd be ignorant to forget Bob Knight. Like, no one's ever going to forget him. History will never erase that. In 200, 300, 400, 500 years, 1,000 years from now, they're still going to have Bob Knight's name at Indiana University in Bloomington. They're still going to have his pictures up. They're still going to have his, the 3 championships. They're still going to have his autographs on the walls. They're going to have all the pictures of Bob Knight. They're still going to keep that 1,000 years from now. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's amazing, dude. That's culture right there. That is just building a legacy that's never going to die. You know what I'm saying? Like, Bob Knight, like, seriously, dude? I would have loved to play for Bob Knight. Now, would I love to get cussed out all the time? No. but, it comes with a cost, right? You getting cussed out in practice. You're going to try harder during a game. You're going to play better defense during a game. You're going to dive on the floor during a game for Bob Knight. You're going to run through the wall for Bob Knight. You're going to hit that three for Bob Knight, okay? You're going to take that charge for Bob Knight, because of all the agony, all the pain in practice that you went through with Bob Knight and all your teammates. It's going to pay off during a live game. That's what he made it so real, and that's why he won championships. The practices were probably more intense than the games itself, which sounds crazy, right? Because nowadays practices are so different now. They're just not the same. You can't implement it anymore. But when Bob Knight coached, I guarantee you they were very intense. They were just like a real game, dude. The yelling, the screaming, if you didn't take a charge, all right, you're going to go run until I tell you to stop, dude. Like, you're on the board here. Nowadays kids would not want to play for Coach Knight. They just couldn't handle it, dude. They just cannot handle the pressure. They couldn't handle the pain. They couldn't handle the screaming at you. That was part of it, though. That's why they won championships. They were built for that. They were built tough, man. They had alligator skin, man. They just couldn't go through it, man. They really couldn't. And Bob Knight made his teammates, man, made his players say, hey, you're going to run a wall you're going to run through a wall for me. You're going to do this for me. You're going to do everything I tell you to do, and we're going to win games and win championships. Isn't that what you're here for? Isn't that why you went to school on a full ride scholarship to win a championship? Exactly. That's why Steve Alford went to IU. You don't think Steve Alford didn't want to play for Bob Knight? Exactly. An Indiana boy in Newcastle, one of the biggest high school gyms in the world, if not the biggest. I played there many times. It's iconic. It really is. I think it seats like, I don't even know, like 20,000. A rough guess. But, Steve Alford went to Newcastle. He said, you know what? I want to play for Bob Knight. Why not? He already won 2 championships prior to that. Prior to Steve Alford going to IU back in the later 80s, after Isaiah Thomas. So, Alford, man, it was an amazing time, dude. But like I said, all good things have to come to an end. And rest in peace to the legend, the greatest basketball coach, in my opinion, of all time. It's amazing, dude. It really is. It sucks because, an icon like that, a powerful force like that died, man. Just right from us. 83, I mean, it lived really a long life. We see people nowadays, they're dying at age 60 and 70 now. I think that comes with the lifestyle, the drinking, just the whole lifestyle in general. Eating fast foods all the time, just all that adds up. So I can see why people die a lot earlier. But Bob Knight, 83, man, if I lived to 83, hey, that's great. You know what I'm saying? I won. I won if I lived to 83. So Bob Knight lasting that long at 83, it's iconic, man. It really is. And I'm kind of still in shell shock, really. It's just like, how did a legend like Bob Knight, who built up IU basketball to where it is today, dude, it's unreal. It really is, man. I wish I would have seen him, really live and just watch him. You know what I'm saying? Watch him coach, watch him yell at the players, see if the players are going to cry after. You know what I'm saying? There were players 100% that would cry in practices. You know what I'm saying? Bob Knight would chew you out, dude. The reason Bob Knight was so hard on his players was he knew come game time that the game was really easy. At that point, the fans are yelling and screaming, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, it's you already went through hell in practice. That's the thing. You already went through all the summer workouts, everything else that you had to do with Bob Knight, the running, the choking the player, so many crazy allegations against Bob Knight. But at the end of the day, they're never going to erase what Bob Knight did. They just won't. At IU, they shouldn't. And if IU does, they'll get tarnished forever. But they won't do that. When we think of Indiana basketball, we think of Bob Knight. Not just high school basketball. We're talking the whole state of Indiana here. It's basketball. Indiana is a basketball state. There's so many players that come from Indiana that make it to the NBA. It's amazing how many players that continue to do that. It's we breed them. And part of that is because of Bob Knight's culture. And that was from the 70s, 80s, and early 90s, dude. He built that up, dude. But I just think, a lot of the players did not want to play for Bob Knight. They just couldn't put up with it, man. They couldn't take the heat, and they could not take the criticism. And that's the thing, and nowadays, in 2023, who would really want to play for Bob Knight right now? You guys name me 5 players that would want to play for him. And off the top of the head, I don't know very many who would want to play for him. I think Allen Iverson would have loved to play for Bob Knight. A guy like Allen Iverson, he would run through a wall for Bob Knight. Allen Iverson gave it every single play 100 and 1,000%, dude. Like, I would have loved to see Allen Iverson at IU. Obviously we saw Isaiah Thomas, but there are other players that would have loved to play for Bob Knight. But nowadays, present day, I don't think many players would really want to play for him, dude. Like, they don't want to get yelled at. They don't want to run wind sprints, the whole time in practice. They don't want to run suicides in practice. They don't want to do defensive slides in practice. They don't want to do any of these things, man. But Bob Knight, he would chew you out, dude. He did not give an F, and I'm telling you, man, like he said, the critics can kiss my ass. That's what Bob Knight said. You can kiss my ass. He does not give an F, but, shout out to the legend Bob Knight, man. It's an honor to, watch him, dude. It really is, man. The greatest basketball coach of all time, dude. Shout out to Bob Knight. Rest in peace to the greatest basketball coach of all time. It's the Clown with Cab Show.